Good morning, everybody. November 10th, 2022, 5:45 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, let's kick off the Ask Me Anything here. Let's see, I got all the questions called up. My apologies. Mr. Ortiz, how are you, sir? My voice sounds a little unusual. My children were kind enough to get me sick. The whole family is sick. I've got some cough drops here in case I get into a coughing fit. I've got the baby monitor here. She should not be up right now, but yet she's moving around and making sounds. That's not good. So basically, it's a real day in real life. You know, it is what it is. And today's episode, as always, is brought to you by strong black coffee to start the day. And all those things that I just mentioned, not to get off track already, but that's what we're about at Linchpin, right? Real life. Real life is messy. We're not all sponsored athletes that have all day to train, and that's not taking anything away from those people, so please don't understand that. Most of us don't have, our children in, hired with a full-time nanny to take care of them all day long so that you just have more free time. Most people are just have way too much on their plate, way too many responsibilities, way too many things going on, not enough free time, things are hectic, and we do our very best in this real life to make the best decisions we can to advance our health and fitness, working out, nutrition-wise, sleep-wise, and it's not always ideal. Sometimes it's messy, but we just do our darndest to make the best decision we can with the cards that are dealt to us each day. And that's what we're all about, keeping it real. So here we go. Let's go ahead and dive in. First most upvoted question is from Patrick S. Not me, as I always say, a different Patrick S. I remember you talking about the 400-meter, 45-pound barbell overhead lunge. Every time you break, you run 400-meter workout, and you regretted programming that one or something to that nature. So the question is, have you ever programmed a workout for Linchpin Private Track that after doing it, you regretted programming it and questioned if you would ever repeat it because it was worse than you thought it was going to be? Short answer to that is no. And the original workout, if anyone's curious about that was a workout that wasn't sent out to the public. That was a workout that a bunch of us did at a level 1 seminar, all the trainers, when we just tried to kill ourselves one day on a track down in Florida. And we did a nasty workout that never got repeated. And that nasty workout that I regrettably came up with was take an empty barbell out to the 400-meter track, get it overhead, and then the goal is to lunge around the 400-meter track with the barbell locked out overhead. Anytime the barbell came down, resting on your back, front rack, or put it down, doesn't matter. Anytime the barbell came down, you had to place the barbell at your feet, leave it there, and then run around the track until you came back to the barbell, pick the barbell up, continue lunging. And however long it took you to do that is however long it took you to do that. I can't remember exactly how long it took, but I want to say 45 minutes-ish, 50 minutes, something like that. I think I ran a 5K that day. It was in Jacksonville, Florida at noon. So everyone was everyone's shirts were off. Everyone was sunburned. Armpits were sunburned because your arms are extended over your head. It was inappropriate. But anyway, that's stuff that you do every now and then. All right, next most upvoted question from Eric C.M. Let me scroll down and find where you are, sir. Okay, here we go. Eric. So I just saw the Beyond the Whiteboard, Varied Not Random Programming episode part 1. And by the way, part 2 is also out there as well. And if anyone wants to watch those, it's Varied Not Random episodes 82 and 83. It's How to Program Workouts part 1, How to Program Workouts part 2. Hopefully everybody enjoys it, finds it useful. Okay, so you watch part 1. You describe all these activities to make sure that we receive state-of-the-art, most effective programming in the world, all the checks and balances, last 3 months, workout reviews, time frames, domains, weights, movement patterns, meticulously taken into consideration, etc., etc. How much of that effectiveness are we missing by not following it as it's designed, or by the changes we do, such as skipping rest days, switching workout days around, something like that? And what are the do's and don'ts to get the most out of the programming? Cool question. Great question. So this, to some degree, relates to how I opened this video today, right? Describing all the miscellaneous chaos that's going on in my life, because it's a Thursday, and how most people have chaos in their life. And that's exactly what it is. Like, there's an ideal that we strive for each day, right? There's an ideal amount of sleep, ideal nutritional decisions, the ideal workout that you will do, the ideal amount of time that you will have to warm up and all that stuff, the ideal amount of, or the ideal way that you will interact with all other human beings today, that you will be this ideal, perfect communicator of exceptional emotional intelligence. And we all fall so far short of all of those things that I mentioned every darn day, right? So that doesn't mean you discard the ideal just because you're going to fall short of it. The ideal is still useful, whether it's nutrition-wise, workout-wise, how you should interact with other people, your level of emotional intelligence. Like, the ideal, a very high standard that makes the most sense in a perfect world, still has value and utility as a guiding light and a beacon. And then even if you get off course, the goal is to still know where that beacon is, know where the ideal is, and to try your best to keep making rudder adjustments to get as close to the ideal course as possible, knowing full well that we're crazy, flawed, messed up human beings with chaotic lives, and the seas get choppy every now and then. And you might never get on the perfect course, but keep fighting to make those rudder adjustments every darn day. Stay in the fight to try to get as close as you can. So even if it's not perfect, you're still winning, because what you don't want to do is like, life's hectic, I got so much going on, no one understands, woe is me. And I'm not saying that you're saying woe is me, but woe is me, and so I'm just going to throw in the towel, screw it. Doesn't matter how I eat today, today's a wash. I'm not going to get in the perfect workout today, so screw it, I'm just not going to work out. Or, whatever it happens to be. That's what we don't want to do. Stay in the fight, my friend. Stay in the fight to get as close to the ideal as possible, even if you never achieve the ideal. The ideal has value and utility. So I think I went down a bit of a rabbit hole there. Sorry. So anyway, but I did kind of scratch that down as a note. The ideal is what you strive for. The daily programming and the thought, effort, time, and experience that I put into it, I do present you with the ideal. Ideally, this is what you will do. Ideally, this is the sequence that you will do it in. Ideally, this is, and ideally you won't have to deviate from that. But I live a wacky life too. And I deviate from it every now and then, because this little crazy girl in this baby monitor, she doesn't care about my plan that I have today. She's going to throw some sort of a hand grenade into my well thought out plan, and I will have to adjust on the fly. So it goes, and I'll just make the best decision that I can. So, let's see. All right, so you got to swap some days around. Is that ideal? No, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not ideal, but it's 100% real, and it's 100% infinitely better than just blowing it off and saying that today or this week is a wash. Nope, that's okay. I'd rather have you swap things around and mess up the order a little bit and stay in the fitness game than just kick it out the window. And, the goal is to navigate life's disruptions with a degree of thought and care. That's the goal. And what I mean by that is, okay, you got to swap days around. Okay, you got to swap gear around. Okay, you've got to, fill in the blank. You've got to make a different nutritional decision. You've got to whatever. Life messed you up. Got to swap things around, have to deviate from the ideal. Now, doing it with a degree of thought and care, that's why we have these discussions. Precisely why. To give context and nuance into what we're doing and why. That's why there's over 300 Linchpin Conversations. If you want to go back from number 1 and just start listening, I would almost guarantee you that if you did that, you would be armed with the knowledge and information as to how to navigate life's disruptions really well, and it would no longer be a concern for you, which is why I'm personally so big on these discussions we have about, it's that whole teaching someone to fish instead of giving them a fish. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm going to give you a fish every day. That fish is the workout. Then I will put all the thought, care, time, and effort that I have built up over the last couple decades into seasoning, and I don't know how far we want to go with this fish analogy, right? Sorry, I'll probably take it too far. Seasoning this dish perfectly and presenting you with the perfect fish every day. But then these conversations, the Ask Me Anythings, the Linchpin Conversations, the Very Not Random podcasts, like all of that other knowledge, that's the other part, which is teaching you how to fish, so that when the day comes that you miss that meal that I was going to provide you, you know what to do, or you know how to make the best decision possible. So that's the two sides to the coin. In an ideal world, life works out perfectly. Open the old BTWB app, tap on what the workout is today, see the warm-up, see the goal times, see the scaling options, see everything, knock it out, great. Life rolls a disruption your way, you know how to do it. So that's the goal right there. And let's see, what else did I write here? And some degree of care, what I mean by that is, as you start to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, let's say you got to swap some days around. Well, swapping days around might not be the worst thing in the world, but if you swap days around and as it turns out you go below parallel on Monday, and then you swap a day around, you go below parallel on Tuesday, you swap a day around, you go below parallel on Wednesday, that's not an ideal way to swap things around. So even if life does throw things your way, as you start to develop this understanding of what we do, a basic understanding of programming, sequencing, loading, rep range, time domains, heavy days, some global movement patterns, such as you can look at a workout and see what's going on here. Are we pulling from the ground? Are we going below parallel? Are we going overhead? How are we going overhead? Is it loaded? Is it unloaded? Is there midline going on? What's the running component? What's the time domain? As you start to kind of demystify that, you can look at the week, you can look at your schedule, you can move things around a bit, and you can do it in a way that potentially is not ideal, but it will still make far more sense than, like I said, had you just stacked back-to-back below parallel days or something like that. And so fitness will still be achieved, my friend. Life will go on. Let's see, because, life has no regard for the ideal. Life does not give the backside of a rat as to what ideal is. And so we do our very best to work around that. Great question, by the way. All right, next most upvoted one from Mel J. All right, Mel, where is your question? Sorry, scrolling through all the questions here. Mel J. Okay, here we go. How do you implement variance, or do you, for scaled workouts when several movements scale to a single movement? For example, all pull-ups and ring muscle-ups perhaps scale to ring rows. V-ups, GHDs, toes to bar, all scale to sit-ups. I'm newer to CrossFit, so I'm scaling a lot, and I hope to work towards the RX movements. Awesome question. Okay, let's see. So, I put this right after the previous question because Eric's question, related to the ideal, right? And the ideal has value. Understand the ideal, deviate if necessary. And I think Mel's question is somewhat related to that as well. It does relate to the ideal. Because if you're scaling a workout for whatever reason, you're trying to scale it and modify it and navigate as close to that ideal as possible, right? As close to that guiding light, that beacon, whatever we want to be, as possible. So that does provide a very useful and valuable reference point that you're not just changing and modifying things on a whim. Like there's a guiding principle behind that. Now, if you are a very new athlete and let's say deconditioned or limited in your physical capacity, well, that might limit what you can do physically, just by the very nature of the beast. And so if that is the case, your options might, by default, be somewhat limited compared to somebody else that has a bit more physical capacity and understanding, ability, whatever it happens to be. That's okay. Having fewer options is okay. Don't get me wrong, big fan of variance, but working towards the goal is the key factor when modifying or scaling these workouts. So, for example, let's see. At the stage that you're describing, the important thing is starting to build capacity. That's the important thing. So if we get back to what you said, maybe a workout calls for GHD sit-ups. Pardon me. Told you, kids gave me a cough, sorry. Workout calls for GHD sit-ups. Nope, you're not going to do those. Okay, well, what's a good thing to do in place of the GHD sit-up? Let's do some V-ups. You're like, nope, that's above my skill level as well. Can't do that. Okay, let's do some sit-ups. Boring. Yes, fine, who cares? Maybe they're not as cool and fancy as you see somebody doing a GHD sit-up or a V-up. Ooh, look at them. But if you are at the point of your fitness journey that sit-ups are plenty challenging, then what that sit-up is doing is building up that deficiency that you currently possess that's keeping you from doing some of those other things. That's exactly what you need to do. So forget about the flash. Forget about what looks cool on Instagram. Forget about whatever that stuff. If you have to reduce it to a sit-up and you just happen to do a lot of sit-ups at this phase of the game, and there are other options, but let's say that you didn't know what to do and you constantly went to the sit-up, you're still winning. You're still building that foundational midline capacity there that will translate to step number 2 and to step number 3. Step number 1 is just so darn important, so hang in there. Something like toes to bar. Nope. All right, well, you can't do toes to bar. Can you hang from the pull-up bar and just do knee raises? Just pick up your knees as far as you can. Try to get them to parallel to the ground. You're like, yes, that sounds nice, but no, that's beyond my capacity. Can't do that. Okay, fine. So we're doing sit-ups again, laying on the floor. Oh, yeah, back to these darn sit-ups. That's okay. Maybe you can do hollow rocks. Maybe you can't. Back to sit-ups. Maybe you can't even do the sit-ups unanchored. You have to anchor your feet. That's okay. Maybe anchored sit-ups are still too hard and you have to fashion a light band onto something with your feet anchored to give you a little bit of help to come up on the sit-up. That's okay. Again, you're on the path, and initially the path may not seem overly exciting, filled with tons of different options, but that might be okay, because what you need is just to start and to stay consistent. Consistency is so mission critical at any phase, quite frankly. So what I would do is think about the point of what we're doing, the intent of whatever workout or movement it is. If you're new that you're trying to scale, don't think about the single movement, think about the intent. For example, midline strength. And thinking about it that way, it will become more obvious as you build more experience and knowledge, not just physical capacity, but as your knowledge and experience base increases as well. And again, that's why we do podcasts like this. So you mentioned the pull-ups, for example, or muscle-ups. All pull-ups and muscle-ups to ring rows. Well, what's the intent on that? Upper body gymnastics pulling strength. There's an oversimplification, but that's what we're going for. Now, yeah, you can go to ring rows. And you know why you can go to ring rows? Because they are awesome. They're absolutely awesome. And they're infinitely scalable, quite frankly, as I've said so many times. All you need to do is shift the position of your feet and they would go from kind of easy to really hard. And then you can put your feet up on a box and you're parallel with the ground. And they are extremely hard. And you can just slowly work that position of where your feet are over the course of weeks or months. And you will become an upper body pulling machine with those quote-unquote boring ring rows. They will get it done big time. You could also do banded pull-ups, though, as well. You could do toe-assisted pull-ups. You could do bent-over rows with dumbbells or barbells. You could do rack pull-ups. So all of those things that I just mentioned right there are upper body pulls, and those are 5 different options off the top of my head, from rack pull-ups, bent-over rows, toe-assisted pull-ups, banded pull-ups, ring rows, all things that you can do if you can't do pull-ups and you can't do muscle-ups. Now, of course, the other part A muscle up, which would not be part of a pull-up, is of course the press out there, so we could work that in some other ways as well. There's a transition, but we're saying an oversimplification right now is let's develop some upper body pulling capacity. And so that's how I would start to think of some scaling things like that. Okay, next most upvoted one from Ben P. This is a good one. Here we go. Quick glance at the baby monitor. My baby appears to have fallen back asleep. Thank goodness. Hopefully she stays that way. Coffee's still hot, so we're doing okay. Here we go. From Ben P. My 63-year-old mother has battled chronic pain for years and cannot walk or stand for very long without cramping and experiencing pain. She has seen countless doctors and specialists, and no one has been able to give answers and is just quick to prescribe painkillers. She's overweight and in pain, and I'd like to help her. What advice for health and fitness would you give to somebody like her who struggles to move around for normal daily function, much less do a CrossFit workout? Wow. Crazy question, and a very serious and powerful question. First of all, I'm very, very sorry to hear that your mother is living like that. It sounds rugged, to say the least. I mean, not being able to stand or walk without cramping and pain, and how frustrating to have gone to countless doctors and specialists, can't get answers, and if they can't get answers, I'm sure they want to try to make her at least comfortable, and so yeah, painkillers are prescribed. That's a sad, crazy situation to find yourself in. First of all, since this is the internet, and sometimes common sense doesn't seem to prevail on the internet, let me say a couple things that I don't think I should have to say, but I'll say. First of all, I'm not a physician. Second of all, I'm not giving out medical advice. Third of all, you should always seek out professional advice from your medical provider before you do anything, or whatever other seemingly nonsense disclaimer I probably have to give these days because the world's weird. Assume that the proper disclaimer was given. And so now I'm just going to chat as if, Ben, you and I were sitting in a coffee shop having a conversation that nobody else could hear about this particular topic. So a couple things jump to mind. First of all, you mentioned that she's overweight, and I don't know what that means. I assume you don't mean 10 pounds, right? I assume it's significant enough that you felt the need to mention it, which, only to speak about my country here in the U.S. is an issue to say the least, and it's shocking in the United States of America and troubling how, I almost want to say, comfortable we have come or let ourselves become with being overweight. And again, I think sometimes it becomes like this contentious or prickly topic to discuss because somebody feels that if you are making some comment about how somebody preferably would not be overweight, that you're attacking their worth as a human being or their character or whatever it happens to be. None of that is accurate. There's no character attack or personality flaw. It's just from a, if an emotionless, all-knowing being came down from outer space and had no skin in the game and just analyzed everybody, they would probably say, yeah, it's a better call not to be overweight. That seems like, to the best of your ability, you're going to stack the deck in your favor by not being overweight. Just quite that simple. And so, whatever she happens to have going on, I would say that would be a great place to start. I don't know what's going on with her nutritionally. I don't know what her diet looks like every day, but if something could be improved there, that might be a great place to start. Just because the fuel that you're giving to your body every day, potential inflammation that you are or are not causing, the food that you eat is so absolutely mission critical to everything else that you're doing that you've got to start there. And I think, I would hope anyway, I don't know, because there's a lot of things I don't know about your mom's situation. I would hope that you could make some serious progress or some useful progress just there. So that's where I would start. And as I always say, I'm always a big fan of E.C. Sinkowski, Optimize Me Nutrition. That's where you can find her on Instagram or on the web. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get any kickback from saying that. There's no financial obligation for me to say that. I say that for the same reason I say everything else on these Linchpin Conversations, because I believe it to be true. And I want to provide everybody with what experience has shown me is the truth. And so I would lead you to her for nutritional advice. So I would go there first. And the next part is she's living with chronic pain. Yikes. I mean, that is no fun right there. But it sounds like, unless you neglected to say it, that she's still taking care of herself every day. It doesn't sound like she has full-time care. So she has to do life's daily tasks every day, and she does them with chronic pain. That's a rugged way to live. And so why I think that is important is, if she is still being forced to do life's daily tasks, life is going to force her to squat, deadlift, and press, among other things. And I'm not talking about a barbell. I'm just meaning if she lives by herself and has to live deadlifting. I'm sure she has to pick things up off the ground because she's running her own household. She has to go from below parallel to standing. That's just a seated to a standing position, in a chair or whatever it happens to be. That's squatting. She has to press to put things overhead in a cabinet or closet or whatever it happens to be. So she's being forced to do full range of motion, most likely, functional movements. And so I don't think those should be villainized, because she most likely has to do them and can't avoid them. So again, not medical advice, make sure you get cleared and all that stuff. In an ideal world, I think what would be great is if she did get medically cleared and approved to join a class, at a local gym or affiliate that specifically catered to her age, her population, and her needs. And those classes do exist. They may not be as common as just your normal classes, so to speak, but they're certainly far more common these days than they used to be. And I think you could probably find one where somebody would take really good care of her. Because if she is going to be forced to pick things up off the ground and go from a seated to standing position and all that, she's going to do it anyway. It'd be great to have somebody get a good set of eyes on her and just make sure that she is moving properly with good technique. Because if you're already living in pain, you don't want to be picking things up off the ground in bad form with weak muscle. So let's make sure that she's doing these movements that she cannot avoid properly with the best technique possible. And then intelligently, perhaps we can add a little bit of strength to her. And so she'll be doing these movements well and with musculature that hopefully helps her succeed. That to me seems like a good place to start, of course, with the nutritional front as well. Eating well and appropriate functional movements are rarely a bad decision. Again, there's a whole bunch of stuff about your mom's condition that I don't know, but based on the very little information that was posted in that question, that would be what you and I would talk about if we were having a cup of coffee together. Okay, there's two more I want to try to cover before my little girl wakes up, and she's wiggling around in her crib, which is disturbing. I wish that she was still fully asleep. Okay, next one is from Jim L. Jim, these next two aren't too long. Okay, Jim L, here we go. All right. I was asked to be the strength and conditioning coach for a football team and was wondering, if the opportunity was given to you, how would you incorporate CrossFit into the lifting and conditioning? Awesome question. First of all, congratulations for being given that opportunity. It sounds very cool. So here's what I'll point you towards. Very nicely timed question. There's a couple things that already exist. You can go to Varied Not Random, the podcast, or the videos on the BTWB YouTube channel. Go to Varied Not Random episodes 14 and 15. And those are entitled Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Meets CrossFit Part 1 and 2. And we had somebody on there who was a former collegiate strength and conditioning coach, and they specifically talk about football for some part of it as well, and how they work that in there. I think you'll very much enjoy that. And, as a matter of fact, we just finished a collaboration with somebody who played football at a profoundly high level and created a football-specific program largely geared towards the off-season. And that's going to be, so, I guess some backstory, Bosman and I do the Varied Not Random podcast as well. And then part of the varied not random name, if you will, is we're trying to, as I am here with Linchpin as well, have it be some place that you can go to that you know you're not getting any junk, you're not getting any fluff, you're getting the real deal truth. No sponsors, no nothing, nobody muddying the water. What's the truth? What works? Trustworthy sources. And we've got on Varied Not Random a bunch of programs or cycles, if you will, that work. How to get your first pull-up, how to get 5 feet of handstand walking, barbell capacity programs. Under all those ones that already exist, we're adding to them, ones that are meaningful, are useful, that we have vetted, that we know and trust. And one of the ones that we've been working with behind the scenes, but I will mention it now because it relates to the question, is I reached out to somebody trusted in the CrossFit community that played football at a profoundly high level, and we just finished creating this one for football players specific. So all the videos and programming and all that actually just got emailed to me yesterday, and so now the process will begin of taking all that information, which is just not in the best form yet, and putting it into beautifully laid out tracks, an ebook. I have the video links, put it in the BTWB app, get it on the website. That takes weeks to do as well. So that's in process. So I'll keep everyone posted on that, but you can check out Varied Not Random episodes 14 and 15 now, but bear in mind there is actually a football specific Varied Not Random cycle that will be coming up in the future, and it's pretty cool. It should be awesome. All right, final question from Sean T. And this is simple, quick, and easy, and related to kind of what I just said there with Jim. Sean wants to know, when will the running specific program you were working on go live and be available? So, much like the football one, there's a running one that I've been working on for a while, and it again will live under the VNR, under the Varied Not Random label, and all of those workouts are in, all of the videos are in. It was not just me, it was a collaboration with a profoundly competent, capable, and well-known running coach in the community, if that probably doesn't give too much away. And once that launches, we'll make it public and probably do an interview and all that good stuff. But that will also live as well. I'm very excited about that. So I actually have a Zoom call scheduled today with the BTWB team about us creating the workflow and schedule to get all of that information now uploaded on task, like I just said, the ebook and blah, 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 and make sure that it goes. So that all that scheduling is happening today. So I'll know more after that call today about what that timeline looks like, but I'll keep everybody posted as well. And that will, again, live under that same banner. If anybody wants to find those programs that I'm talking about, just go to the web, type in programs.btwb.com/VNR. programs.btwb.com/VNR. And you can see all the ones that live currently, and when new ones such as the football one or the running one go live, that's where they'll live as well. And there's also 2 more that I haven't mentioned that are in the works that are pretty darn cool. I'm not going to say what they are now, but I think people will find them really, really useful. So, all right. So that's it. Fantastic questions as usual. And then I'll just end real quick by highlighting the challenge for this month. The challenge this month has a heavy deadlift. I think people are going to love it. It's Linchpin Test number 3. 3 rounds for time, 21 wall ball shots, 14 handstand push-ups, 7 deadlifts. Deadlifts are 315 pounds for men, 205 pounds for women. So that's the prescribed version. There'll be a scaled version. There'll be a wild card option as well for the first time in this challenge. And there'll be a dumbbell option. And what I'm most likely going to do is give the option for, the handstand push-ups are going to be probably what is quite a challenge for some people that just don't do them. You'll be able to replace those handstand push-ups each round with bar-facing burpees if you so desire. That will most likely be the wild card option. So the prescribed will be prescribed. Wild card will probably be 21 wall balls, 14 bar-facing burpees, and then 7 deads at that weight. Then there'll be a scaled workout, and then there'll be a limited equipment, a dumbbell workout. That should go down. That challenge should happen November 18th through the 21st, which is a Friday through a Monday. Registration will begin the Monday prior on November 14th. I'll share a link in social media and I'll make a little video just highlighting all that. There's going to be a shirt and a tank top like you can always get. No, there'll be just a shirt, a unisex shirt. Sorry, I lied to you. Just a unisex shirt this time. And names on the back like last time. And then there'll be a hoodie. This hoodie that I'm wearing is not the hoodie that's going to be the one offered. I've tested this one. I like it. But the problem with this hoodie is the sizing's a bit weird. So in every hoodie that I've ever bought in my entire life, I'm a large, and large fits really well. This one that I'm wearing fits perfectly, and it's a medium. So I undoubtedly would have ordered the wrong size, and that would be really weird and frustrating. So I've got another hoodie coming this way, should be delivered today. I'm going to check that out and see how the sizing works out. But the other piece of swag on top of the unisex t-shirt that you could get if you want will be a hoodie for Linchpin Test number 3. And it will be a simple hoodie like this with just understated, right? Just a Linchpin logo on the chest. That's it. And as always, this is a fun community event. We're going to do one Linchpin challenge every month, forever and ever as far as I know. You can do it for free. Keep your Visa card in your wallet. You're good to go. Just sign up for free. Have fun. Get your name on the leaderboard. See where you shake out. Awesome. You want to get a shirt? Want to get a sweatshirt? Cool. You can absolutely do that. You can sign up and do that as well. So the choices are yours. There's no running in this Linchpin challenge. Everybody should be happy. Everyone loves a heavy deadlift. Then just to give some kind of numbers behind the scenes, if you go to on BTWB and you look up Linchpin Test number 3 and see like the average times that are given, 80th percentile, meaning like you crushed it, that you're in the top 20%, right? You're in the 80th, you scored in the 80th percentile. That's around 8 minutes for this workout. 60th percentile is about 10 minutes. 40th percentile is about 11:30. So you're going to get anywhere from an 8 to 12 minutes is going to be where a lot of people are going to fall for this. So that's it. International shipping available if you want to get something, and I'll put up a video shortly once I know that I like the sweatshirt, and I'll show the sweatshirt in the video. So that's it. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for being awesome. Continue to treat each other with kindness. That'd be really cool. And like I said, remember, there's an ideal, and we do our best every day to get as close to it as we can, but life doesn't care about the ideal. And so we play the hand that we're dealt. Have a great day, and we'll talk later.